Hey everyone, earlier today the Diablo 4 team finally posted their quarterly update for June, where they go into detail about the visual art for player characters, monsters, and allies, as well as some of the character customization systems. It's important to note here that everything we see in the update is a work in progress and is subject to change and polish. With that said, I'm going to try my best to go over the important bits for you here without wasting your time. So let's get started. The update starts off with art director John Mueller, who reinstates that a lot of what we see here is a work in progress, but at this point it's all a very good representation of what we can expect to see when the game releases. He went on to say that they wanted the characters in D4 to look as handcrafted as possible, while also using the latest tools and techniques, but without leaning too far into realism. They felt like the Diablo 3 cinematics were the ideal look they wanted in Diablo 4's real-time game environment, and even though this seems very ambitious, they thought it was definitely possible. I think the most important line here is, nobody ever said we shouldn't, we couldn't, or we can't. Everyone said yes, even when it meant starting over or throwing out work. Everyone really pushed and brought their best to this work. I find this line to be important because over the years there have been plenty of rumors about the development process being started over multiple times for D4. I think many people, including myself, chalk that up to the fact that they struggled to keep a game director, and each time a new one arrived, they pulled development into a different direction. John then says that singular focus and commitment to quality led us down a very long, winding, and challenging path to where we are today. The challenges required us to completely rebuild our rendering engine and authoring tools. We needed to assemble a world-class character team comprised of artists, tool engineers, rigging specialists, lighting, and surfacing experts. This was a complete overhaul. After reading that, I'm more inclined to think that it's been mostly their goal of reaching excellence that's caused them to scrap ideas and start over, rather than a lack of direction due to employment issues. In the next section, John talks about the huge improvements to the level of detail for things like skin, cloth simulation, hair, fur, metal, all the way down to the highlights of the eyes and the sweat on their skin. There's also this little line here. These solutions had to work not just for a single character, but for hundreds of componentized armor sets, different body types, dozens of unique personas, and completely unique art for 5 distinct classes to start. I love the "to start" line in parentheses, a subtle way of saying that we will definitely be getting more classes after launch. Next, we got a look at the layer scene. This is where players can customize the look of their characters with their new wardrobe system, which is basically transmogging on steroids. You will be able to mix and match hundreds of armor pieces unique to your class and customize their color palettes to better fit the look you desire. I wonder when World of Warcraft will get these options.
Let's find out. 1, 2, 3.
The world may never know.
John went on to say that most of the story cutscenes will be rendered in their engine using the game models, so that you will see your character up close within cinematic scenes. I believe we got our first look at this in the 2019 demo during the reveal at BlizzCon, but the Rogue announcement trailer was also created entirely in their game engine. Because the player character will be viewed in many different ways, from the character customization screen, inventory, social screens, and cinematics, a lot of effort has gone into making sure the character looks good from different perspectives. One thing they've implemented to support this is an extra layer of texture called detail mapping, which brings more sharpness and detail to the main texture. Next up, lead character artist Arnaud went over the character customization and some of the visual improvements they developed for D4. He starts off by saying, you will be able to change the face of your character, the hairstyle, the facial hair, beards and eyebrows, and add jewelry, nose piercing or earrings, makeup, and body markings such as tattoos or body paint. You will also be able to change the color values of your character's skin, eyes, hair, facial hair, and body markings. Some options will be class specific though. Also, no mention of customizing the shape of the character's eyes, mouth, or nose, so it's probably safe to assume that they will be part of the facial presets. Now, just like with Diablo 2 Resurrected, Diablo 4 uses physically based rendering, or PBR for short, which makes their materials look and react to light in a realistic way. They've also expanded on the dye system, which now allows players to dye each piece of their armor, letting them dye every piece a different color if they desire to do so. Every armor set in the game has 2 body types as well, one for the males and one for the females. Here's a picture for the set for the barbarians, and here's a picture for the rogues. I'm not sure, but this might be the first time we've actually seen a male rogue in D4, and of course the helmet covers their face. Next, we got a couple slow motion clips, one of a rogue and one of a barbarian, both of which were recorded in their real-time engine. These clips show off how light reacts with the materials and also gives us a glimpse of some of the previously mentioned character customization options. Arnaud closes by saying, "This is just scratching the surface of what's to come in Diablo 4 in terms of character customization," which leaves me wondering, what else will we be able to customize? The only thing that comes to mind are player mounts. They've already said we'll be able to put trophies and I believe armor on them, but maybe we'll have more options. I would love to see skill customization, like being able to change the color of a skill's effect if that isn't already being done in game via items or talents. And now on to Nick, an associate art director for D4, talking about monsters. He starts off by saying that monsters should be visually familiar, but then painted with a Diablo brush that applies the core demonic theme to all the monsters. We got our first look at what this means with two bosses, the Blood Bishop and the Skeleton Lord. Their goal with the Blood Bishop was to create a caster with a vampiric blood and magic theme that has direct damage spells and AoE abilities to create areas of denial. This theme led to the creation of arteries that create blood clots that explode to produce these AoE areas. And if you look closely, you can see what appears to be a cape made out of arteries and blood that's in the shape of a heart. All of this coming together to create a pulsing, blood-fueled bishop. Next, we have the Skeleton Lord, which is a giant skeleton made up of a bunch of bones held together by blood and sinew. The team wanted to create a boss fight around this, so they designed a bunch of abilities around the theme of bones, like summoning skeletons, bone walls, and a slam ability that creates an explosion of bone shards. Nick then goes on to talk about the importance of assets and how they look far away and close up. He says that the details need to be readable and built for performance and movement, and gives us an example using a spider feeding on and birthing spider spawn from a bloated corpse. This, by the way, is one of the most horrific things I've seen in a Diablo game, and it will most likely give me nightmares, but I love it. We also got another example with the succubus, which is an iconic enemy in the Diablo franchise. At a distance, you can clearly see that it is a winged demon, but upon closer inspection, you'll see its translucent wings and the details of its outfit. I've got to say, this is definitely my favorite version of the succubus so far, but I'm sure some people will complain that they aren't naked enough or something. And lastly, Nick talks about their modern pipeline. He says, in order to achieve this, the modern pipeline, we needed a process and technology to realize these amazing and honestly disturbing creations. To do that, we have built a world-class team creating monsters and demons at a level of quality that raises the bar for the Diablo series. The PBR allows them to create surfaces and materials that look real and react to lighting in the world. They give us two different examples of this here. The first is a knight covered in metal and cloth. You're able to see the light reflecting off the metal surfaces while accentuating the cloth. And the second is an unnamed beast that looks something like Cerberus. This shows off how fur, bone, flesh, and blood react to in-game lighting. The fact that they didn't name this beast, and because it looks very large and intimidating, I'm thinking that it might be a world boss that they haven't shared with us yet. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And before I close, I just want to say that I know I constantly voice my concerns for this game, but my god, the more we get to see of the character models, monsters, armor, and environments, it makes me more and more excited to play this game. There is no denying that Blizzard knows what they are doing when it comes to making visually stunning video games. I can't wait to see what else they have in store for us. And in case anyone was wondering, the next update will be on sound design and in-game systems. I've made an entire video talking about the current in-game systems that we are aware of, and I'm looking forward to learning about all the other systems they have yet to announce. Fingers crossed there's no infinite Paragon system though. I'm also quite the sucker for good sound in games, so that's definitely something I'm excited about. And that wraps up this quarterly update. Let me know in the comments on what your thoughts are on what was shared here, and be sure to subscribe for more gaming related content.